Yeah, I wonder. Well, I want to try and pivot this. Well, do we want to talk more about the play style? Let's keep it moving. Fuck it. We're already 30 minutes into the show somehow. This time is flying by. Let's have a look here because we spoke. Was it last week's show? I think it was that we spoke about it potentially being the year of CIS Counter-Strike, right? Because Spirit, since their addition of Dexter, they went on to win that DreamHack event. Obviously, Navi, forZe. I have no fucking idea what's going on with forZe at the moment. So maybe like they're a bit of a mess, but I'm sure they can come out on top of it. Jerry seems to be like a pretty level-headed kind of guy and a decent in-game leader. So if we have a look at those teams, including yourself here as VP, in the past it used to be Navi and then like I don't know, we had Hellraisers as they were always like a international mix, so maybe we don't include them. We always had like a Vega Squadron or like a Windstrike or like another name like that would pop up and they would get an upset, but it wasn't anything to believe in. Now it feels like the talent has finally been put in the right places and there's decent leaders and decent coaching. What do you think about the whole region?
I feel like last year, CIS region like improved hell, like really much, and like Gambit went from a team that was farming those like no sweet homes and every other tournament to actually top 15. Spirit, who were on a high level already, made some changes, and now with Dexter they look like a really good firepower, and us ourselves like getting into like top 6 and winning like these tournaments. I feel like we can have at the end of this year like 4 CIS teams in top 10.
Okay.
For sure.
So just for people at home who are watching, just to see where everybody's at right now, VP, so Navi are the highest rated at 3rd, VP coming at 6th. If we go down, Spirit are in at 14. Gambit, which is the one I left off my list, which I shouldn't have, is in at 16. And then who else was there? forZe are in at 23. So you already have those names all within the top 25 as it is. So it's not the most impossible of journeys to see, but having like all of them in the top 10 would be something. What do you reckon the likelihood of that is, Striker, if you were going to sit here and hazard a guess right now? Not to get all of them, but maybe three out of the 5 names.
Oh, which 3 are going to make the top 10, or what's the
question?
Well,
I think we'd all assume that. Like, do you think there's possible 3 could make it? Because I think we'd all say Navi, VP, Spirit probably, but Gambit are the ones who are the ones actually grinding, so who could make it above Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the next level for like changes would be like some sort of a combination between Gambit and forZe.
Okay.
Just because there's just a lot of talent in both teams that if they came together, that would be like the next challenger, I feel like. But yeah, I'd probably agree with what you said with Spirit now being the 3rd one. I think Dexter is going to make that team. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's already has made that team a lot better. So that's definitely like the next one.
Okay, so Prof, when we were talking about this, right, how serious are we in thinking this? Because I saw Peter make a tweet as well about up and coming talent in that region. Are we missing anybody off our list, Prof, here from what we've spoken about?
I mean, I just went to look back in the rankings. Like, I was trying to think, when did we even have two CIS teams in the top 10? And from my just like cursory glance, I think it only happened with Avantgarde and Navi after Avantgarde was in the grand final of the Starlighter Major, when they're just like some random ranking I have now. Avantgarde are 4th, Navi are 10th. So I think that's the only time, or maybe some like small periods where you had something like that going on. So yeah, when you look at all of the teams that are outside of the top and that are in the top 20 from CIS, I think we never had such a strong field from CIS. And just to answer your question, yeah, who else do we still have? Windstrike also, who are kind of a decent team.
Alien and stuff, right?
Yeah, even I think some other teams that are outside of the top 30 that are currently there, probably mostly because they played all of these like during break tournaments, so that they're kind of higher now than they objectively probably are in the ranking.
Yeah,
but there's still talent in those teams. As we saw, like forZe, I think they played with like 5 or 6 different players coming in for Exit Power and Facecrack. So there is talent, obviously. And you look at like Navi Junior still existing, and some of these teams that are obvious farm teams for the teams that we're talking about, the Spirits and these guys. I think it should be the best ever year for CIS. Like,
Okay.
if not now, like when?
Yeah.
With all of this talent, right?
Well, 2019 we had probably you could argue the best year for NACS. So this, it would make sense that we're getting to the CIS threshold as well. With just because we spoke about the talent in CIS before, and now it's kind of all coming together. So let's do this. Yakinda, first of all, 2021 for Virtus Pro. Is the plan to just play? Because before you said you don't give a fuck what you're playing, you don't care who you play, you just want to beat everybody, right? But is the plan to play in just because you guys you won Flashpoint Season 2 last year? You've obviously on a streak of tournaments at this point as well. You guys are playing the play-ins for Katowice in 9 days' time, I believe it is, something like that. So for you guys, like now that you've found yourself back in the top 10, all that hard work has paid off. Is the plan still just to play everything that opens and shuts, or is it now to be more selective about your tournaments now that you get those offers?
I mean, obviously we have priorities in our tournaments, so we don't want to be having crossover events. Obviously, like 2 events in same days, like we had in IM New York and Flashpoint qualifiers.
Yep.
And like obviously we won them both, but like it's not that easy. You're wasting a lot of energy that you can be using in like long distance further, and obviously we're just prioritizing tournaments with like thinking which tournament is more prestige, and obviously which tournament has more money in it. Probably the main 2 points. But our focus still is any other tournament doesn't matter. I think major is the most important one.
Okay, cool. So just hopefully we get that this year for you boys. And then like we're going to probably dive into this a bit later in once we get to playtime, and everybody can be excited. I actually did up the calendar. Whether or not we can show it, well, that's another thing. But when we're talking about that, and we're talking about, because you're still on the cusp, right? You worked really hard as a youngster. You worked throughout the ranks. You showed a good work ethic. You had all these mentors and stuff along the way. And then you got put on a good team, or you didn't just get put on a good team. You were selected to be on a good team because of how good you are. So you're still in the early stages of like now playing within Tier 1 Counter-Strike, right? Like this is your still technically in your first year, right? When you look at the other people who, as you were coming up from either Latvia or the CIS region, or even players that you're playing within FPL, are there any names that you're surprised haven't been picked up yet? Or are there any names that you think are soon to get picked up and put on one of these international squads? I know it's not as easy for everybody because nationalities and some people in like, different areas, the ping's not great. But is there anybody that you're surprised isn't on a big name team yet?
Oh, well, I mean, for me, like Spinks and Flames,
Okay.
2 Israeli players from FPL. I played with them a lot, and like they're like Flames is now getting a lot more recognition because he got picked by like a lot of players from top 20, obviously. And Spinks, I played like I think we qualified almost at the same time for FPL, and he improved a lot, and he's really good at the moment. So I believe these 2 players, and maybe I can put in interesting, like CIS guy who would probably like Aunker. Maybe I think Aunker is a really good player as well himself, and but I heard rumors that forZe wanted him, but couldn't get him.
Didn't work.
So
okay.
yeah, so I mean, but like those 3 players, they're young, they're talented, and they're crisp.
All right.
Like them.
He did stand in for forZe for a while, like at the end of last year, or like earlier this year, actually, even.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it was a test for forZe, but and forZe wanted to buy him out, but it just didn't work out.
He's on that NAVI contract, right?
Similar to you with forZe, right? You also played like a trial for them, but things didn't work out even before pro stuff. So a lot of people don't remember that, but I never even saw it until we were doing the interview, and I was like going through the matches, and I'm like, playing for forZe? What the fuck is this? But yeah, didn't happen. forZe obviously also didn't sell a couple of their players, which were sought by NAVI. That was the Flit $1.5 million story. How much truth there is to that, but kind of an insane buyout, definitely, for Flit.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. But let's keep the show moving because we're already 40 minutes